Right, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. We will be looking at Gigaset's multi-cell DECT solutions. Just bear with me one second. Yep, get back to the title screen. So we'll be looking at future-proof solutions easily deployed with myself, Gavin Sykes of ProVu Communications, and I have with me this morning James Bevan, the Technical Sales Manager at Gigaset UK.
Hello.
If at any point during this webinar you have any questions regarding the product, there should be a chat window on the right hand side. You can click on the speech bubble and type in your questions, and then either myself or James will answer those questions either during the course of the webinar or in the Q&A section, which we will have at the end as well. So starting off looking at the agenda for this morning's webinar, we'll have a look at why you should install multi-cell systems over different systems. We'll have a look at Gigaset solutions, their current N720 IP and their newer one, the N870 IP. We'll have a look at planning these systems and installing them as well. And then, as mentioned, we will round up at the end with a short Q&A session. So having a look at why multi-cell first of all, I'll speak to you a bit about why you should install multi-cell rather than a single cell system with repeaters, and then I'll ask James here to compare multi-cell systems to Wi-Fi based systems. So if we have a look at a single cell system with repeaters, let's say Gigaset's own M510, you get the M510 will allow you for up to 4 simultaneous calls and 6 SIP accounts. Which for maybe a home office would probably be suitable, maybe with 1 or 2 repeaters as well. However, it's worth noting that those repeaters come with their own concurrent call limits of 2. You get limited coverage, of course, as well, and they are expandable up to a point, which is why I put not expandable on this particular slide, because once you hit your limit of repeaters, that's it. And to expand any further, you would have to rip the system out and put in a multi-cell system anyway. Comparing this to a multi-cell system, we see that you get a huge number of simultaneous calls, much more coverage wherever it's needed, noting as well that on a single cell system, repeaters have to be within range of the original base station. And the multi-cell system is far more expandable as well. You can simply add another point wherever coverage is needed in a matter of 5 minutes. So if James, you would want to speak to the audience a bit about why you should install multi-cell over a Wi-Fi based system.
Sure. Starting off with the obvious, the handsets are more expensive. So typically with Wi-Fi handsets, the proprietary ones, you're looking at £300 to £400 RRP. Some people use a mobile phone, but that comes with its own problems. You've got a much more complicated setup for roaming. Wi-Fi is not actually set up out of the box for voice. You've got to do some work on quality service, making sure you've got plenty of bases. Typically, an install that hasn't been thought out for voice won't have all the coverage in the areas you might need, like stairwells and things like that. So you quite often, if somebody's got a Wi-Fi solution and you want to put voice on it, you're going to need to add some additional bases in there somewhere along the way. You've also got problems with bandwidth contention. Wi-Fi uses a frequency range that is shared by other things. For example, 2.4 gigahertz also is used by microwave ovens and Bluetooth, things like that. So they can all impact on signal strength. And you also get a short coverage range compared to DECT. Then with DECT, you get seamless roaming. It's designed from the outset that you'll have be able to move around the building. It's designed for voice. One of the problems with Wi-Fi you have is sticky clients. The client will try and hang on to the base for as long as possible. But with DECT, as soon as you get to a point where it needs to start moving to another base, it will just switch over. And it doesn't impact battery life in the same way that it would do on a Wi-Fi handset. You've got no contention at all because DECT is just used for the DECT range of products. So unless somebody's in the strange circumstance of having 2 DECT systems, you're not going to have any problems with signal impact. And obviously get the longer range because the signal will go further.
Yes, the longer range does also allow for a cheaper setup overall, as longer range equals less base stations needed to provide the same amount of coverage as Wi-Fi points would use. We've had a question here from Stephen, James. Doesn't DECT use 2.4 gigahertz as well?
It doesn't. It uses 1800 megahertz.
Thank you for that.
So 1.8 gigahertz.
Yeah, so it would not clash with anything that uses Wi-Fi or, as we've mentioned, microwave ovens or Bluetooth either. Would you want to speak a little bit about why the customers should use Gigaset Multicell as well, as opposed to other manufacturer systems?
Yeah, so we have something called HDSP, which just basically means you get HD audio, very good quality calls. All our devices support PoE, and some of them include a PSU. We've also support multiple different auto provisioning methods, which I'm sure ProVu can help you with.
Absolutely.
LDAP and XML corporate directories, and we're also certified with an awful lot of different providers and on-site PBXs.
Thank you, James. We're just seeing the logos of a few of those providers and on-site PBXs on here. We see some of the much larger worldwide ones, such as Avaya, 3CX, NEC. There are very few hosted or on-site systems where the Gigaset is not certified. I myself am actually yet to come across a system where the Gigaset system hasn't worked.
Other side, we've got a question from Damien. Can you explain the longer range of the seamless roaming? We needed an access point of 15 meters. Is that, I presume you mean with Wi-Fi you need access point every 15 meters? You shouldn't need that many DECT depending on the environment. But yeah, because it uses a different frequency range, it travels further. If you remember the old days of AM radio, the signal from that would travel much further than FM radio. No DECT with the survey kit and Siemens on site. Okay, I don't know. We can, if you want to get my details from Gavin afterwards, I'll be happy to speak to you about that.
Yeah, that is certainly something to look into there. We've had a question from Stephen. Gigaset certified with Broadcom. Do you know if they're working with OpenReach hosted VoIP?
It's something we're possibly going to be able to work on. Yeah. We'll come to that. We'll mention that in a little while. Open World Garden. Okay.
Very well. Yeah, we'll definitely have a look at that one for you, Damien, because that does seem very strange, to say the least. Having a look now, comparing the two systems from Gigaset, their current N720 system and their newer N870 system, which is available to order from ProVu today. So if you were to look at the N720 system, you would need a separate DECT manager, to which you could then attach up to 30 base stations on the same network. This system would allow for up to 100 handsets and 30 parallel calls. Which is enough to cover the needs of most small and medium-sized offices, and it's compatible with their Pro range of handsets. So we've got the S650, the R650, their ruggedized units, and the SL750, their executive units, and the Maxwell C as well, which is their DECT desk phone. With the N870, you don't need to keep in stock or order a separate DECT manager. This does bring the added advantage that we only need to keep one item in stock. You don't need to worry about, is this unit a DECT manager, is this unit a base station, because each unit can be configured to be either one or both. Again, it's compatible with the same Pro handsets as the N720. So there's no worries, say if you were to upgrade your customer from an N720 to an N870, all the handsets that they were using before, they'd be able to use with this as well. There are 3 possible setups for this one. So to cover your small and going into medium offices, you'd set one unit up as a combined DEX manager and base station, and connect up to 9 more as well. One unit will be set up as a DEX manager, and then you can have up to 60 bases attached to that. So that would allow up to 250 handsets and 60 parallel calls. So we see already that in itself is a much bigger setup than the N720 or any other system can currently offer at the moment. Going into the large setup, which is coming soon, it's still in development. You have an integrator, each of which connects up to 100 DEX managers. Then each of those DEX managers again can connect up to 60 base stations. So that's a total of up to 6,000 base stations, 6,000 parallel calls, and 20,000 handsets as well.
And that integrator would run just on a virtual machine?
Yeah, so that could be anywhere on the internet, I understand.
Stupid question. There's no such thing as a stupid question, but will the Master still function as a DEX base station? It will in the small, but it will not in the medium. So when you move to the medium mode, basically more processing power is required. So you need to turn off the radio, and it won't handle calls at all. It will just handle the setup and all that kind of stuff between all the other base stations.
We've had one from Dan as well. On the small setup, if they only have one shared unit, it will only support 5 concurrent calls.
That's correct, actually. Yeah, I think that's a typo in your slide. That's if you've only got one base station. So if you have
yes, I see.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. But if you've got 2 base stations, then yes, you get the full 10 parallel calls. But if you've only got one base station, it's just 5 parallel calls.
As with the N720, that did have a limited number of handsets and simultaneous calls per base station. Can the N720 and N870 be mixed in deployment? I don't believe
no,
they can. Am I correct in thinking that? No, that's a no on that one, unfortunately. We've got one more here from Neil. Are there any plans to integrate with WildX PBX?
Not something we've spoken to WildX about, but there's certainly no. We wouldn't be opposed to doing some testing with them if they would like to do that.
That being said, I see no reason why, if you were to try it on WildX, it shouldn't
we
work
can
out of the box anyway.
With that, yeah.
Here's a look at the new base station that you would get with the N870 IP. As we can see, in my opinion at least, it is a lot more sleek looking than the N720 DEX bases and the DEX manager, of course. Each unit, you see the 2 LEDs at the bottom there, so you can see at a glance whether the unit is a DEX manager or base station or both. It supports conference calls, and it has inbuilt client certificates as well. And the role can be changed, DEX manager, base station or both, via a series of button sequences to save you having to dig into the web interface in order to change that. We've had a question from Simon. In our system, I believe he's referring to their own platform.
Mm-hmm.
We can only have one extension registered at a time. Can that work on Multicell?
We'd need to test it. It's yeah, because it's one device. They're all separate extensions. I'm not sure what you mean in there. But if you contact Gavin, we can discuss that in detail at a later time.
And do we have any plans to integrate with 8x8 hosted PBX?
Not at present. I don't know whether it's something they're interested in. If you want to speak to them and persuade them that they need it, then we'd be happy to work with them. Yeah.
These questions are all being recorded, just so you know, so we will be able to get back to you. If any can't be answered today, we will, of course, be in touch with the answers to your questions. Having a look at ideal installations for the multi-cell systems, the N870 in particular, it's anywhere really that you would need deck coverage over a whole building or an outdoors area. So we're looking at care homes, for example, where staff members may need to urgently dial 999 or other staff members if one of the residents has maybe had a fall or something like that. You don't want to be running back down to reception to get to the phone to call an ambulance. The ambulance is needed there and then. So the staff member will be able to call 999 immediately as long as the coverage is good. Open areas like garden centres and car dealerships as well, staff may need to be reached wherever they are. And a common thing that you see in car dealerships is salespeople just using their iPhone, for example, using a business dedicated handset that is still cordless but provides the required coverage, does present a more professional image than simply using that iPhone. James, have you ever seen any more sort of interesting areas?
Yeah, one of the other things that DECT is quite good at is factory environments. So you quite often find with Wi-Fi that lots of shiny metal surfaces are not ideal. They tend to negatively impact on signals. We're quite able to cope with that. I've even installed one in a tea factory where there was a lot of dust, and that's where things like our R650H handset comes in quite nicely, because it's IP65 rated and it won't allow the dust in. Because if you say a question about weatherproofing,
we've had a few people ask that.
Yeah. We don't at the moment. The N870 will have a version that has external antennas, so you could mount the base inside and then put the antennas on the outside of the building. Otherwise, it's a case of using some waterproof housing,
which are easily available or made up as well, simply out of where it would be plastic, the best material, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We've had Stephen ask, what is the square footage of the DECT units both indoors and outdoors? It does very much depend on the environment, but the general range that we advise at ProVu is you get 50 meters range indoors and 300 outdoors. This is, of course, only an estimate and does depend heavily on environmental factors. This is why we always recommend having a survey done to get a true picture of where coverage is needed. Having a look at the handsets available now, so we see the portable Pro handsets from Gigaset. We have the R650, the SL750, and the S650. So the S650 is sort of your everyday entry-level sort of handsets, just for your normal office workers who don't need a whole lot of features. It provides 12-hour talk time. It's scratch resistant and resistant to disinfectant as well. So that will cover most everyday use. We see the R650, which is in fact IP65 rated. This is best for your outdoor environments or dusty environments like maybe factories or warehouses. It can take a hit, and there are videos of them being completely submerged in water and still being able to speak, still being able to ring, still working perfectly fine, even after you take them out of the water as well. The SL750, like the S650, is scratch resistant and you get 12-hour talk time as well. So yeah, the S650, we see the 1.8-inch colour screen as well. So it is, although we call it entry level, it is still a very advanced handset with what you can do. And say if you don't want to be putting it in the same charging cradle every time, it comes with micro USB charging as well. The R650, we see it doesn't have the micro USB charging like its other two brothers, but it does have an LED torch. So let's say if all your factory workers were carrying this around and then there was a power cut, for example, and all the lights were to go out, you want to be able to get out of the factory safely without knocking into any machinery. So you can simply use the LED torch on the R650 to see your way out of there. Looking at the SL750, the executive level handsets, slightly bigger colour screen, so you can do that a little bit more with it. It's resistant to scratches, disinfectants as well. You can get up to 500 contacts on it, and like the S650, it's got the micro USB charging. So if you didn't want to put it always back in its charging cradle, for example, simply plug it into a USB cable and away you go.
Okay, this is a Maxwell C. So it's similar to in style to Maxwell handsets. So if you have an install and you want to mix them, it doesn't look out of place. And it's powered by DECT technology. So if you've got an area where there's no Cat5 cabling, it's difficult to get to that area, but there is power. You can just plug one of these in and it will connect back to either an N510, an N720 or an N870. It's also got 8 speed dial keys down the side. Supports other things like a headset. You can also headset directly without a dongle. It's quite a nice little product. We've had some interest from hotels because in the past they've been interested in putting DECT phones in bedrooms, but they've been worried about the handsets going missing. Well, with this phone, you can sort of solve that problem.
And it's not just hotels. This could be maybe going into retrofit environments where network cabling isn't always possible to put in, or even maybe things like building sites, remote offices, where you do still want a desk phone, but getting all the necessary cabling and everything there just isn't practical. All this would need is power and a DECT signal, and you'd be good to go. We have had a question from Jonathan. Any plans to improve the belt clip on the ruggedized handset, the R650? I can only assume from that maybe some have broken. I don't know what your thoughts might be on that, James.
There's no plans to change it at present, but I can certainly pass that feedback back to the development team.
So planning on installing these new multi-cell systems, what we are able to do at ProVu, we are able to either sell or rent to you a site planning kit. This would allow you to go to customer sites, do all the surveying yourself, and get, as mentioned earlier, a more true picture of where coverage is needed. Or we do also have engineers that can do it for you. They're able to do the survey, tell you where you need network points doing in. They can do a network survey as well, and they'll also quote you for the installation. So you can either purchase the site planning kit, do everything yourself, or have our engineers do the survey, the network survey, the installation, or anywhere on that scale really. You might just have guys who install it and need our guys to do the survey. Whatever needs you have, we will work around those. And am I right in saying, James, that Gigaset are able to go out and train the reseller?
That's right, yeah. What we'll do is we'll come to site with one of our survey kits, so you don't need to borrow one for that particular survey. It's got a little base station in there with a battery pack. It comes in a nice little flight case. All the handsets are calibrated, and they're basically fixed into survey mode, and a whole load of accessories, spare batteries, things like that. What we will do is go out with one of your engineers and basically do the survey, and at the same time show your engineer how to use the device. So if that's something you would like to do, just get in touch with Gavin and we'll set that up.
And this is is it a free service as well?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a free service from Gigaset to allow you to expand your offering to your own customer base, any resellers that you may even have. So it's very much worth doing that, I would say, if you're going to be putting in more multi-cell systems.
Obviously, we can't do all your DECT surveys for you, much as we might like to, but yeah, doing one or two just to train up your engineers, that's not a problem.
Very well, so in conclusion, if you were to order these new multi-cell systems from us, the same place where you already order your desk phones, routers, network equipment such as switches, if you were to order it all from us, you'd be able to cut down on your costs because it would all be on one order, one single delivery charge, one box all going to one place, rather than waiting for different items to arrive from different suppliers, then having to go out to your customer's site to fit it all. We can even drop ship, so you tell us where the customer's site is and we just send it straight there with your branding. We can book in surveys with our engineers with minimal fuss, and it does give a true picture of where coverage is needed. or as mentioned, of course, Gigaset are able to train your guys, and you can buy the site planning kit from us if it's something that you want to do yourselves. And installing the base units with a single PoE cable is very simple to do. And as they contain a PSU in the box as well, if you were to put some in a PoE area and then find that PoE wasn't available maybe in the second building where you wanted it, then you can simply use the power supplies as well.
I will say that's just on the N510 product. So the N870 and the N720 both need a separate power supply which you can order.
We'll just open it up to a quick Q&A now. I can see that a couple more questions have come in, so we'll just answer those as well. If you do have any questions after this, then you can go to either our website where there's a contact form, or our main email is contact@provu.co.uk. So we have, starting from here now, very well. Jonathan's issue with the R650 clips was that they tend to pop off very easily. That's something.
Yeah, as I said, I'll pass that back to the development team. Any plans to support 3CX directly on the handset? Well, funnily enough, we did do a lot of work with 3CX. Some of our technical guys have actually been out to their offices and spent a lot of time getting it working. So they do all work. However, there's a contract negotiations that go on from that, which still haven't been resolved. So I don't think official support is going to happen anytime soon, but the products should all work. Surveys limited to the UK. That's more of a question for you, I think.
Yeah, our engineers, is Europe covered? We have had the inquiry before, people from, I believe it was France and Italy. The engineers did say that it would be okay. They would need things like travel expenses covering, but places on mainland Europe, the Republic of Ireland as well, it should all be doable.
Is it worth upgrading from 2 times N510 to the new N870? Obviously, I'm Gigaset, so I'm going to say yes, because it's obviously an increased cost to you. So it's just a case of working out whether the benefit of all being on one device, having the ability to add additional bases, which obviously with the N510 you don't have. I would say yes, because you're getting more concurrent calls, you're getting a more expandable system.
It seems he actually has 4 N510s, so that would make it even more of a yes.
Yeah, that would make it a lot easier because the price would be closer. So yeah, you would, with a single, you'd only have the 5 concurrent calls, but that's still one more than you would get from each of those bases individually. You might want to think about 2 bases just to get you the concurrent calls you need. It depends what kind of concurrent calls you want. But yeah, you'd be able to register up to 50 handsets just to the one base. So.
Can the N870 now run across different subnets? It seems that the N720 had to all be on the same subnet.
It still has to be on the same subnet, yeah.
Would it be possible, on the back of that, James, when this new integrator comes out, say if you had a load of smaller systems dotted around?
That's where we might be able to look at putting them on different networks, yeah, because the communication is slightly different.
Yeah.
But that product's not out yet, so I'll come back to you at the time.
Absolutely. In a large residential environment, it's just gone off my screen there, 1 second. Yeah, so in a large residential environment, would you go for the N870 instead of the N720? I would say yes to that, simply because it is the newer product, so it will be more future-proof.
And it also works out cheaper as well. So unless you're going beyond 10 base stations, you're not going to need a separate deck manager, so that will save you the cost of that straight away off the bat.
Absolutely. Can you do internal calls between all handsets like on a single base?
No, that's handled by the platform.
Yeah.
So if a customer's got
compatible handsets.
Gap in theory will work. You tend to lose things like your address book, but the main problem with Multicell is the problem you can have is we aren't able to support roaming because that's not part of Gap. So if you find handsets that work and you want to use those, great, but obviously we wouldn't be able to help you with any problems you had with handover. Is there an end of life date in mind for the N720? Not at the moment. It will depend on you guys really. So at the moment we're going to sell the two products at the same time. So it just depends how quickly people switch over to the N870. Any more questions?
Is there an ETA for the integrator? I believe that was a question that I would have as well.
Yeah, it'll be probably towards the start of next year. Hopefully we can get it out before then, but that, me being realistic, I think that's when it's likely to arrive.
Yeah, so if you are currently quoting for any, say, multi-site systems or just any larger systems that may need this, then that will be the ideal ETA to go with the start of next year. Does the N870 do the handover through the IP backbone or the wireless DEX radio?
It does it through wireless DEX, just to say. It basically works exactly the same as the N720.
Yeah, it's just a sort of an upgraded version of it.
One of the key things is client certificates. A lot of ISPs now are asking for that. People like BT, Gamma have not wanted to work with us in the past just because we don't have client certificates, and we have that now. So those opportunities are now open.
Absolutely, thank you. I think then if there are no more questions, we did have plenty of them come through, so thank you everyone for that. I think we can end it here now. Again, if you do have any more questions afterwards, send them to the email address that's on your screen now, or simply go to our website and submit it through there.
And likewise, if you would like Gigaset to come out and visit you, we're happy to do that, and we can show you the products physically, maybe even provide you with samples. Just get in touch with Gavin and he'll try and arrange that for you.
Yep, absolutely. Can we arrange a chat offline about?
Absolutely,
yep, absolutely. Yeah. Very well. We'll get back to you this morning, Damien, and everyone else. Have a good rest of the day, and thank you for attending.